Cassidy Hutchinson delivers what is told as the damning testimony for the January 6th committee. This is totally what's going to put Trump away. Except it's not. So we'll go over the testimony. We'll listen to the testimony. We'll hear friend of the show, Mira, talk about the testimony. And we'll talk about the holes that are punched into this as well. In other news, a Texas woman steals a short-barreled select-fire rifle from a National Guard truck along the border and then brags about it on Twitter, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Amazon employees sent an open letter demanding work stoppage in pro-life states, so we'll go over what's going on with that and where we go with there. And Elmo, beloved childhood puppet, is now vaccinated for the pinko pox. It is going to be all this and more. Welcome to midterm season. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Got through the intro and realized I didn't have my blinds open yet. And, how will I know when the ATF comes to swap me? Because somebody was so offended by what I had to say. Not that they would actually do that in the morning, I think. I think most of the people who are offended by that, I think the vast majority of them are not up yet because they just had a long night of rioting and protesting for Roe versus Wade. Oh, wait, no, that's not happening because CNN is telling us. They're not saying a word about this. They're so much more focused on January 6th. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the other stuff that's going on here. We're going to try to fly through the finance section here because we have got so much to go over just with this one testimony and poking all the holes in it. So let's get into it. Let's get started. And make sure you go out and check out the Daily Ignoramus, the Occasional Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Porch Boys. Go check out all of those shows. That's going to be great fun. It'll be a great week. There's probably going to be some sort of impromptu stream at some point coming across the weekend here, as Porch Boys announced last night. A lot of us are going to be in the same room at the same time. So definitely watch the Twitter and the Discord for announcements on that. And when we're going live and what's going to happen with that, definitely go and check with that. I mean, we're all professional news people here. We're all professional culture people here. So there probably will not be anything too wild. Okay. But yeah, go and check that out. It's going to be a great time over on all of our channels. I'm sure that there's going to be one thing. Ooh. The pine trees are going at it again. So definitely, I got a little bit of the sniffles this morning. But yeah, go check out all of that. And let's get into it. Let's get right into what we've got going on here. We're going to start with the Dow, which took a 500-point dive yesterday. Down to 30,946.99. The markets are about to open, so we will see what happens with that. The futures look like they're turning back up again, but we're coming back around that nice soft floor. I know it punched through the soft floor once a couple weeks ago, but we're hitting around that nice soft floor where people look at this and say, well, I might as well buy the dip. So some of that is going to be held up as we go. We'll continue to watch this, see where it goes and what happens with that, and see what stocks rise, what stocks fall, what are projected to rise, and what are projected to fall. Looking at your Bitcoin, which has been a wild, tumultuous ride, definitely. Now it's dropping back down to below the 20,000 mark once again. It is down $1,205 US and 80 US cents over the past 5 days to 20,013 US dollars and 70 US cents. So, hey, we might go down to that 15,000 mark where I go and pick up a bunch, but we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. And the gas took another, finally, reprieve. Not a big one, it's just a penny, but now in the Sun Prairie area, around the Madison area, is $4.29. Madison proper is still sitting at $4.34 for the fuel. So, it's a little bit of a reprieve. Hopefully, maybe 10 more cents throughout the week. That would be ideal. That would be fantastic. Starting to look and see what some of the stations are down south as well. So we'll see what happens with that, and we will see where that goes. All right. Let's see what IBD has to say. Dow futures rise after market rally flashes. Very bearish signal. This advertising thing. It wouldn't be so bad, except... Really? That's what you're going to do? That is fantastic. Guess what? I can get around that. Might take us a moment. We might not be able to get to this one yet today because I don't know how long it's going to take for that to archive, but let's, I guess, looking at Yahoo Finance instead. Stock losses accelerate into the close as momentum stalls. Nasdaq drops 3%. Dow sheds nearly 500 points. From Emily McCormick. I saw a CNN headline news report that pro-life supporters are the vandals and terrorists behind the pregnancy center attacks. Yeah, they'll try to get you to believe anything right now. This is CNN. And by the way, I've been advertising that we're going over to the Twitch side, or trying to focus on the Twitch side more. There will be a CNN tag, an emote over on the Twitch side. I haven't decided if that's going to be for the paid people or if that one's going to be one of the free ones, but at that point you can go express your disdain for CNN by putting an emote up there. U.S. stocks were under pressure on Tuesday, with Nasdaq losing about 3% as selling ramped up for technology shares especially. As of the close, the S&P was off by 2%, bringing it down to 3821.74. The Dow fell by 490 points, or 1.6%. The Nasdaq dropped 2.98% to 11,181.54. The small cap Russell was also down more than 1.5%. Stocks had taken a leg lower in morning trade after a new report showed U.S. consumer confidence deteriorated to a 16-month low in June, amid ongoing inflation concerns, stoking concerns that souring outlooks would contribute to a further slowdown in actual spending and activity. I'm still saying mild recession once we get out here. I don't think it's going to be major. But I still look at the numbers, and I look at the consumer confidence and the retail sales, and I think that it's going to be 0.4% drop in the GDP, which would put us into a recession. Anything below 0% GDP growth would put us into a recession. But I don't think it's going to be, I don't think we're going to lose 1.5 again, like we did last quarter. Let's see. Domestic stocks were briefly buoyed by during the pre-market session. And at the market open, China cut in half its required quarantine time for travelers, a sign the country may be loosening its most stringent COVID-0 policies that had acted as a risk to growth. Stock indices in Asia and Europe broadly gained. U.S. crude oil prices briefly rose above $111 a barrel, and the 10-year yield jumped up back above 3.25% to approach last week's highs. U.S. equity investors remain closely attuned to signs of an economic deceleration in the U.S., with inflation continuing to run at multi-decade highs and monetary policymakers maintaining a firm stance that the priority remains bringing down prices, even at the expense of some growth. Closely watched data from the University of Michigan last Friday suggested consumers were at least beginning to temper their expectations for how hot inflation will run in the near term, however, helping contribute to a stock rally that closed out the S&P 500's second best week of 2022. So they're going to keep trying to tell you that something good is going to happen up here. Let's look at IBD now that it's archived and see what it is they have to say. Then we will get into the main news of the day. This is from Ed Carson, by the way. Dow futures rose slightly Wednesday morning, along with the S&P and the Nasdaq. The stock market rally suffered sharp losses Tuesday, with the Nasdaq and the S&P breaking below a key level. Economic reports on Tuesday revived recession and inflation fears. A report of Intel chip price cuts due to PC weakness slammed Intel stocks and rival AMD as well. PC makers and Microsoft. Man, I wish I'd be building this computer right now, although I'll go look and see what the graphics card market looks like because, hey, it's the same thing. Like I say, when I talk about insurance, if you outlawed insurance tomorrow, you would start to see hospital prices coming down because they don't make money if there are no bodies in beds. And if you can't afford to pay it out of pocket, there are no bodies in beds. Same thing with college, too. If you got the government out of college and everybody had to pay it out of pocket, you'd start to see those prices coming down really quick. Because without butts and seats, the colleges don't make any money either. All right. Meanwhile, Exxon, Vertex, Enphase, and Alphabet, and Tesla are 5 stocks to watch, but for different reasons. ExxonMobil rose modestly Tuesday, flirting with buy signals intraday after the diversified energy giant held up better than most oil and gas plays. Vertex Pharmaceuticals fell back below buy point. Enphase tumbled within a handle as solar stocks dimmed. Google and Tesla also fell solidly below recent buy points. Google is on the IBD long-term leaders. Vertex and Enphase are on the IBD 50 and the Big Cap 20. Exxon is Tuesday's IBD stock of the day. In other news, General Mills reported better than expected fiscal fourth quarter earnings and sales. General Mills rose modestly before the open after reversing lower Tuesday, back to just above its 50-day line with a shallow cup base. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.3% versus fair value. The S&P advanced 0.25%, and the Nasdaq climbed 0.2%. The 10-year yield fell 6 points to 3.15%. Crude oil rose more than 1%. Bitcoin fell to just above the 20,000 level again. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's what's happening on your finance. Adjust your portfolios as needed. And don't take any of this as official financial advice. I always have to put that disclaimer out there. Your financial advisor is the most qualified person to give you financial advice. You know who is the most qualified person to give election advice to Liz Cheney? Probably everybody other than who she's listening to. Before we get into the testimony, let's talk about what's happening in Wyoming right now. Cheney campaign dispatches mailers that discuss how to switch party affiliation in order to back Cheney during Republican congressional primary. From Alex Nitzberg, that's right, Liz Cheney, who is about to lose her seat. And interestingly enough, she has a snowflake earring on, I just see that now. Who is about to lose her seat to a Trump-backed candidate, is begging Democrats to vote for her in a primary. The campaign of GOP Rep. Liz Cheney of Wyoming sent out mailers that discuss how people can switch their party status in order to vote for the lawmaker during the Republican congressional primary. How do I change my party affiliation to register as a Republican so I can vote for Liz, the mail says. To change your party affiliation or to declare a new affiliation, complete the Wyoming voter registration application and change form and submit it to your county's clerk office no later than 14 days before the primary election. You may also change your party affiliation at your polling place on the day of the primary or general election when requesting an absentee ballot. Yeah, especially like if there's an incumbent, like when Trump ran last year, even though at the time I had no intention to vote for Trump in 2020, that wouldn't come until like 4 days before election day, when I decided I was actually going to vote for the president. I had no desire whatsoever. The spending spree was what got me off of that. But when he made his comments about federalism, I decided I'd give the old boy one more chance. But I did take a Democrat ballot. And I voted for Bernie on primary day. Not because I really wanted Bernie to win, it's just because Joe was so far ahead and I really wanted the numbers to be all askew and screwed up. Wyoming Democratic Party Chair Joseph Barbuto got the mailer from incumbent Republican lawmakers' campaign, according to the New York Times. A former newspaper, the outlet reported that Barbuto said his social media feeds during last week had been filled with Democrats, noting they had gotten Cheney campaign mailers. I haven't had any Republicans share online or tell me that they received it, Barbuto noted on Thursday, according to the Times. Even if every Democrat in the state switched over, Barbuto said, I don't think it'd be enough to help her. Yeah. There's like 1 million people in Wyoming, and 750,000 of them are probably Republican registered. The outlet reported that in February, Cheney indicated she would not engage in a push to ask Democrats to switch parties. Prior to the primary, that's not something I've contemplated, that I've organized, or that I will organize, Cheney said at the time, noting she would work hard for every single vote. Yeah? How's that working out for you, Liz? And what's so funny about this, and I mean, going in and we're about to talk with Hutchinson, so many people who literally protested the Cheneys because of her taking over her father's warmongering mantle. They literally protested this woman, and now they're singing her praises. I say something a little bit more crude on Twitter, but you guys get the gist. You know, we're still competing for that AM radio audience. So, yeah, that usually is an indicator that things are going oh so well, Liz Cheney. All right, let's talk about Cassidy Hutchinson. So, the first thing that we have here is the AP's selectively edited version of the clip. The Associated Press tweets out Cassidy Hutchinson testifies that she was told that as then-President Donald Trump was being driven back to the White House after the January 6th Selfie Fest rally, that he demanded to be taken to the Capitol and tried to grab the steering wheel from a Secret Service agent. Let's listen.
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. Once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?" I said, "No, Tony, I just got back. What happened?" Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing," the president had very strong, a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel, and when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Did Mr. Engel correct or disagree with any part of the story from Mr. Ornato?
Mr. Engel did not correct or disagree with any part of the story.
Did Mr. Engel or Mr. Ornato ever after that tell you that what Mr. Ornato had just said was untrue?
Neither Mr. Ornato nor Mr. Engel told me ever that it was untrue.
So that's apparently that's some pretty damning testimony right there. I mean, He just happened to reach up there. He grabbed at the throat. He assaulted a Secret Service officer. But there are a lot of points that come out and point out the fact that this is complete bullshit. And again, I can't bring myself to watch the CNN production. I'm sorry. I did it the first night because A, it was on prime time, and B, I thought we were going to actually get something out of this. I legitimately did think we were going to get something out of this. But there are so many problems with this right from the start, right from the beginning. And the first thing to come out with, and the reason for the fact that we're titled the way that we are on today's program, is because this is not a direct testimony. She did not see the president reach out and grab for the steering wheel. She didn't see him grab for the throat of a staffer. She didn't see any of this. This was hearsay. This was somebody told her. Now, of course, the armchair lawyers on Twitter have already come out and said, no. This one's admissible, okay? Just this one's admissible because the people involved are they're not rebutting it. So just accept this, okay? We're going to put him in prison now. I saw a lot of that yesterday. And I just pulled up a couple of new articles off this while we were listening to this because we'll have the diagram of the beast, but we're going to listen to this one first because I promised, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it again last night, but this is Millennial Other coming back here and pushing back on what it is that Miss Hutchinson had to say.
I see Fang Fang like lingering outside of Eric Swalwell's ass. Sadly, I guess is what she does now. But anywho, we made eye contact. Not my call, but anyway. And she goes, did you effing hear what happened in the Beast? And I'm like, when the shit did Eric Swalwell's asshole get like a cool nickname with the shit, right? And she goes, yap, 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 we're gonna keep yap, yap, yapping. And she goes, listen, so we go in the Beast. Alright, fine. And Swalwell, suddenly, he's like, listen, where is Putin's fist? I want that. You know, he wants to go double-double. And Fang Fang's like, listen, I'm literally the best you can do right now, or whatever. Swalwell's not having it, because I guess, I don't know, he's a shithead. I mean, honestly, when you consider who he is as a person, but that aside. Then he goes, and you want to keep yapping. And then the end of it is, apparently, when you're asked, is there anyone who can corroborate any of this? Well, no, of course not. But, did the Democrat, like, tampons, I'm sorry, what are their proper names? I guess Adam Kinzinger and I think Elizabeth Cheney. I guess those are their human names, but, I mean, if we're all being fucking serious, they're a bunch of poon canoes. So, anyway, the short version is that, what I've explained to you here, as far as Swalwell getting fisted by Russia and China, is way more fucking accurate than whatever the fuck this little bitch fucking burped up today.
Quest. Do questy things. Make her love me. She follows me now. It was a couple weeks ago I got the notice that Mira followed me, which I thought was kind of cool. And she seems a lot more confident this time, too, than she did with the response to the crazy TikToker who was saying, oh, well, the gas prices, that's because of Ukraine. She's a lot, like, you could tell that one was her first TikTok video, but, you know, now there's some confidence. Now she's got a setup, and I think we're going to see some really good things coming from this one. Maybe a little J. Edgar. I don't know. All right. So, I'm going to drop this one over here, because this will go with the two that we have sitting over here. But I did want to bring this up here and point out what it is that we're looking at here. So, seats president up to 4 passengers with a glass partition. Only Trump has a switch to lower it. Car has a panic button and its own oxygen supply. So, yeah, he could probably lower it, but still, that's the limo itself. But regardless, even if there is a way to lower it, that's a long distance. Now, the Donald, he's a kind of tubby guy. I don't know how big this partition is, whether this is big enough for a person to actually climb through. a normal person to climb through, or this is just enough to be able to basically hear what the Secret Service is. I've never been in the Beast. It does kind of look a little bit like this is somewhat large, but for tactical reasons, I don't know that they're also going to show exactly what's happening with this either. I also will now be referring to all of my firearms as defense accessories from here on out. But what I can say is this. I mean, there is a distance between however big that partition is, and the steering wheel. And the Secret Service themselves, they can't lower it either. They can't raise it back, but regardless. I mean, when you believe that this is a person who is a criminal mastermind and a Marvel villain and everything else, you believe that he has the superpowers. I don't buy any of this at face value. I don't buy an ounce of this at face value. Let's talk a bit about what's happening here, though. From ABC, surprise January 6th hearing featuring White House advisor signals urgency by the committee. From Catherine Falders and Benjamin Siegel and Libby Cathy. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol will convene on Tuesday for a surprise public hearing signaling apparent urgency among members to reveal further findings from their year-long inquiry. 18-month, by the way, 18-month inquiry, not year-long inquiry, 18-month. The hearing, scheduled to begin at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, will see the committee present recently obtained evidence and receive witness testimony, the committee said in a news release on Monday. Former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, who was a top advisor to Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is expected to testify, sources familiar with the matter told ABC News. Punchbowl News first reported of her scheduled appearance late on Monday. It's anticipated that through her testimony, Hutchinson will put a voice to many of the internal White House interactions involving the events of January 6 that have been reported publicly and will offer significant insight into Meadows' actions and interactions with then-President Trump on January 6 and in the days before and after, sources said. A 2019 political science graduate of Virginia's Christopher Newport University, Hutchinson was an intern to House GOP Whip Steve Scalise, then Ted Cruz, in college before serving as White House intern in 2018. After graduating, she joined Trump White House Office of Legislative Affairs before joining Meadows as an executive assistant and later a special assistant to the president. I've set a personal goal to pursue a path of significance, she told her alma mater in a 2018 interview after her White House internship. Having already sat 4 separate times for closed-door depositions with the committee, Hutchinson has been featured in clips publicly displayed by the committee, including some of which she discussed members of Congress asking the White House for pardons. In an April court filing, the committee revealed that Hutchinson told investigators that Meadows was aware of security concerns that indicated possible violence on January 6 ahead of the Save America rally. I know that there were concerns brought forward to Mr. Meadows. I don't want to speculate whether or not they perceived them as genuine concerns, but I know that people had brought information forward to him that had indicated that there could be violence on the 6th. But again, I'm not sure if what he did with that information internally, she said. Now, tinfoil time. A little bit of hattery going along with this. Excuse me. When I look at this, when I look at the fact that they suddenly, instantly, have this witness 2 days after we're starting to see violence that CNN, I'm sorry, just isn't covering. The pro-life centers, the pregnancy centers, Portland, Los Angeles, the highway shutdowns, things of that nature, and probably many, many more that that I can't even come back and talk about because I don't know about them. One of the first things that we talked about, I was in a Discord call with a couple friends on Friday when this happened. And one of the first discussions was whether or not there would actually be violence because of this. And it does turn out that, yes, there was, but it's being downplayed as hard as possible. There's going to come a point where it cannot be downplayed anymore. So they're now, it seems to me, rushing to get the rest of this out here so they still have legitimacy, because once you start seeing dead bodies, burned property, black bloc, on the evening news, on your local news, on your national news, on CNN, the legitimacy of this kangaroo court, what little bit it had already, is gone. You can't yell insurrection over and over again over a mostly peaceful riot that got a little bit out of hand, in which nobody died. Once you start having riots where people die, even if you change the location and bring it to the Capitol, somebody is eventually going to breach that Supreme Court fencing. And then your legitimacy for this entire thing is gone. Fanning came back, and it looks like he went to the subway right before I invoked Fanning. So he might have to go back and double speed it. Let's see. So we read off of this. I lost my place for a second. Here's one. Breaking news. Ketchup on the wall, a scuffle in the limo, a Trump assistant ignites the January 6th inquiry. I brought up an interesting theory while I was on Twitter yesterday looking at this. Who paid Cassidy Hutchinson's debts? Why is she doing this? And why is she doing this now and suddenly? When all that she had was closed-door depositions that were recorded and then selectively edited to make everything sound as bad as possible. What changed over the weekend for her? This one needs to be archived. Alright, we'll do that. But we might have to go back to that one later. So let's move on to Fox News. Let's get some music up here. From Fox News, Trump lunged at Secret Service agent who said he couldn't go to the Capitol on January 6th, according to an aide. With an incoming update. This is a live blog. We're going to skip this one too. Hey, we might get through everything if we keep skipping stuff. Well, I guess let's go back to ABC News once again. January 6th hearing witness. Irate Trump grabbed the wheel, demanded to go to the Capitol. From Libby Cathy and Alexandra Hutzler. The House Select Committee investigating the U.S. Capitol attack heard stunning testimony on Tuesday from Cassidy Hutchinson, a former top aide to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. She's told the committee and an international TV audience, which is the actual point to do this, to get an international audience. So if people in the UK and the people that still have TVs in the Ukraine that the Russians haven't stolen, and people in Turkey, and people in South Africa can go look and say, "Oh, we must never do business with this person again. We must pray and do whatever we can to keep him from becoming the president." She told the committee in an international TV audience that then President Trump was warned about potential violence and crimes, that he wanted supporters with weapons to let into his January 6th rally, and that he then demanded a security detail take him to the Capitol, going so far as to grab the wheel of the presidential limousine. No, that didn't happen. This was the 6th hearing this month investigating what the committee says was the conspiracy by Trump and his allies to overturn the election. Here's how the hearing unfolded. Cheney raises concerns about witness intimidation. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Extraordinary hearing closes. Witness Trump didn't want to respond as attack on Capitol unfolded. Witness disgusted by Trump's attack on Pence. Witness Trump threw his lunch against the wall in anger. All right. Let's grab one. Let's do this one first. Let's grab one from the Daily Wire. Report reveals top Secret Service agent story of what happened inside the car with Trump from Ryan Saavedra. This is where it gets interesting because Miss Hutchinson had nothing but, as I said again, my cousins, brothers, roommates, fathers, friends, girlfriends, college roommates, sister told me that he reached and tried to grab the wheel from inside the car. Versus somebody who was actually in the car who is coming up bringing his testimony. From Ryan Saavedra. Former President Trump's lead Secret Service agent is reportedly ready to testify that testimony given by former White House staffer on Wednesday to the January 6th House Select Committee is false. Right? But she doesn't get, or she can't be perjured for it. Because remember, she's not saying, I know beyond a reasonable doubt that he grabbed the steering wheel. It's, I heard somebody tell me that he might have grabbed the steering wheel. These lawyers in Congress, they're really good at sidestepping perjury. Which, by the way, you know, people are asking, where were these witnesses during the second impeachment? Well, they hadn't been coached how to not perjure themselves yet. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, claimed that Trump, on the day of the January 6th selfie fest, tried to get Secret Service to take him to the U.S. Capitol building, and that he became enraged when they would not do that because the area was not secure. Hutchinson claimed that Trump tried to grab the steering wheel of the armored presidential limousine, and that Bobby Engel, who was the lead security detail, had to tell him, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel." Hutchinson claimed that Trump then lunged and assaulted the agent. NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander tweeted, "A source close to the Secret Service tells me that both Bobby Engel, the lead agent, and the presidential limousine SUV driver are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel." The Secret Service responded to Hutchinson's claims in a statement. U.S. Secret Service has been cooperating with the Select Committee since its inception in the spring of 2021, and will continue to do so, including by responding on the record to the committee regarding the new allegations surfaced today in today's testimony. Washington Post reporter Josh Dawsey noted on Twitter that the January 6th Select Committee has Secret Service testimony that would seemingly corroborate or dispute what Cassidy Hutchinson said today, but it wasn't played. Surprise, surprise. And then, of course, because it's the Washington Post, the people that were involved in this were reached out to for comment but didn't respond because they were reached out to 2.5 minutes before the article was published. Trump responded to the allegations by writing on social media, "I hardly know who this person, Cassidy Hutchinson, is, other than I've heard negative things about her, a total phony and a leaker. And when she requested to go with certain others of the team to Florida after having served a full term in office, I personally turned her request down. Why did she want to go with us? If she felt we were so terrible," Trump continued. "I understand that she was very upset. It's a terrible thing, and angry that I didn't want her to go or be a member of the team. She is bad news, okay? The worst." Trump's claim that Hutchinson wanted to work for him after he left the White House is somewhat corroborated by January 14th, 2021 tweet from Bloomberg News reporter Jennifer Jacobs, who wrote, "Aides had assumed Trump would fly to Mar-a-Lago when he leaves the White House, but now it's definite he's heading to Florida. And several aides will continue to work for him, including Nick Luna, Molly Michael, and Cassidy Hutchinson." Trump later added that he did not want or request that we make room for people with guns to watch my speech. Why would I ever want that? Who would ever want that? Not me. Besides, there were no guns found or brought into the Capitol building, Trump continued. So, where were all of these guns? Now, And again, didn't watch the hearing this time through, but there are people out there that are claiming now that there actually were AR-15s in the Capitol. JoJo from Jers is one of them out there. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't know if there were guns at the Capitol or not, but at the same time, I know that there were no guns at the Capitol. Do you know why I know that there were no guns at the Capitol? Because with the, and they're of course they're saying AR-15s. With the demonology behind the letters and numbers AR and 15, you would have heard about this long before 18 months later. That would have been top headline news. We'd have completely forgotten about the pipe bombs. If there had actually been an AR-15 recovered at the Capitol. We would know that by now. Trump then said that her claims that he tried to grab the steering wheel were fake, and that the allegation was sick and fraudulent, very much like the Unselect Committee itself. Wouldn't even have been possible to do such a ridiculous thing, he added. Her story of me throwing food is also false. And why would she have to clean it up? I hardly even knew who she was, okay? So, we actually have people that are willing to testify against this. A little bit more off of this here. From the Daily Mail, Secret Service, a lead and presidential driver are prepared to testify under oath that Trump did not grab the steering wheel or lunge at agents to drive himself to the Capitol on January 6th. Yeah, and again, I don't know, even if he did do this, what he had planned to do. I can't imagine that even with the switch being able to go down, again, the former president, he's kind of a thick dude. He's kind of a chunky guy. I've seen partitions. Even if he grabs the wheel, there's no way for him to control the vehicle. This is from Morgan Phillips. Secret Service is reportedly prepared to push back against the claims. This is a lot of this is review, I think. We're going to save this, though, because I might want to use this video from some of the articles we have coming up. So we'll put a pin in this. We might come back to this video, unless they have video in some of the other outlets. Let's grab another one from the Daily Wire, which blows another hole in Hutchinson's story, by the way. Top former White House lawyer delivers devastating blow to Cassidy Hutchinson testimony. From Ryan Saavedra. Former Trump White House lawyer Eric Hirschman delivered a damaging blow to Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony against former President Trump on Tuesday, as he claims that he wrote the handwritten note that Hutchinson told the January 6th Select Committee that she wrote. The note that Hutchinson claims that she wrote stated, anyone who entered the Capitol without proper authority should leave immediately. Hirschman is claiming that a handwritten note regarding potential statement for then-President Trump to release during the January 6th attack on the Capitol was written by him during a meeting at the White House that afternoon, not by the White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, ABC News reported. At Tuesday's January 6th committee hearing, Liz Cheney displayed a handwritten note when Hutchinson testified that she wrote it after Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows handed her a note card and a pen to take his dictation. One source familiar with the matter confirmed to the Daily Wire that Hirschman is claiming that he wrote the note and not Hutchinson. The handwritten note that Cassidy Hutchinson testified was written by her was in fact written by Eric Hirschman on January 6, 2021. A spokesperson for Eric Hirschman told ABC News, all sources with direct knowledge and law enforcement have and will confirm that it's written by Mr. Hirschman. Hirschman is a widely respected attorney who came out of quasi-retirement to protect Trump against those around the president who were giving him bad advice. Anyone that has ever worked with Hirschman knows that the handwriting on the note is his. Political strategist Arthur Schwartz wrote on Twitter, Cassidy lied through her teeth and Liz Cheney knew that she was lying. That in and of itself would be interesting because that in and of itself is perjury. She can get away with perjury for the grabbing of the steering wheel because it's somebody told me that you had a boyfriend that looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. That kind of thing. But if she's claiming the note is hers and it's actually Hirschman's rather, that is perjury, especially if she was under oath. This is going to get interesting, but, you know, the mainstream media is not going to cover anything that's going to be damaging to this. 7 takeaways from Tuesday's shocking January 6th hearing. From CNN's Marshall Cohen, Zachary Cohen, and Alex Rogers. Let's see, the takeaways. Trump and his chief of staff were warned about violence, including armed attendees of the rally. If they were armed, it was makeshift stuff that they found on the ground or a little bit of bear spray. That is a leading headline. Trump intended to go to the Capitol and pushed to do so until the last minute. Kind of sounds like that was false. Aide recounts second-hand incident where Trump reached for the steering wheel. Oh, they had to put the second hand in that one. Cipollone warned people are going to die and blood's going to be on your effing hands. Trump defended the rioters, chanting for the hanging of then Vice President Mike Pence. According to Hutchinson relayed a conversation she observed between White House counsel Pat Cipollone and Meadows after they discussed with Trump the chance to inflict violence on Pence. I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, "Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung," Hutchinson recalled. Meadows replied, "You heard him, Pat. He thinks that Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong," according to Hutchinson, which is another instance of hearsay, by the way. Cipollone responded, "This is effing crazy. We need to do something more." There was a large concern in the White House of the 25th Amendment being invoked after the riot. Trump delivered a speech on January 7th, finally acknowledging that Biden would be inaugurated, in part because there was a large concern by the White House that Pence and the cabinet would invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him from power, according to Cassidy's testimony. And Hutchinson says his conduct on January 6th was un-American and unpatriotic. And now they think there's going to be witness tampering as well, which will be the next thing we get into. So that's CNN's big takeaways from all this. From the most trusted name in news, apparently. From NBC News, January 6th panel warns of attempts to influence witnesses by Trump allies. From Scott Wong. I hear he's never Wong. January 6th committee members revealed at the close of Tuesday's hearing that they're concerned that allies of former President Trump are trying to intimidate witnesses who are cooperating with the special House panel. Most people know that attempting to influence witnesses to testify untruthfully presents a very serious concern. We will be discussing these issues at a committee carefully and considering our next steps, Liz Cheney of Wyoming said at the conclusion of the hearing. So, influencing witnesses is bad, but attempting to kill in order to influence a Supreme Court justice, that's A-OK. Cheney, the top mono-party on the panel, said the committee routinely asked witnesses whether they've been contacted by any former Trump admin or campaign officials who attempted to influence or impact their testimony. The committee has already made the criminal recommendations for people who refuse to comply with subpoenas. Federal law prohibits obstructing congressional investigation or intimidating witnesses. Cheney said the panel discovered at least 2 examples of potential witness intimidation. This, I think, is where we're going to go back and watch the video. Like I said, we're going to put a pin in this. Cheney shows statements suggesting witnesses have been pressured. Let's listen.
While our committee has seen many witnesses including many Republicans, testify fully and forthrightly, this has not been true of every witness. And we have received evidence of one particular practice that raises significant concern. Our committee commonly asks witnesses connected to Mr. Trump's administration or campaign whether they've been contacted by any of their former colleagues or anyone else who attempted to influence or impact their testimony. Without identifying any of the individuals involved, let me show you a couple of samples of answers we received to this question. First, here's how one witness described phone calls from people interested in that witness's testimony. Quote, "What they said to me is as long as I continue to be a team player, they know I'm on the right team. I'm doing the right thing. I'm protecting who I need to protect. You know I'll continue to stay in good graces in Trump world." And they have reminded me a couple of times that Trump does read transcripts, and just keep that in mind as I proceed through my interviews with the committee. Here's another sample in a different context. This is a call received by one of our witnesses. Quote, "A person let me know you have your deposition tomorrow. He wants me to let you know he's thinking about you. He knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for your deposition." I think most Americans know that attempting to influence witnesses to testify untruthfully presents very serious concerns. We will be discussing these issues as a committee, carefully considering our next steps.
Species which have been sampled.
Yeah, well, given what we are just finding out about the chief of security and the driver for the presidential limo, you might want to walk that one back, Miss Cheney. Let's see. From Axios, January 6th panel raises concerns about possible Trump world tampering. Yeah, let's not do that one. Let's skip that one too, because we've reviewed that. We see what's off of this. Interesting one that happened right before this new bombshell testimony. Michael Stenger, Senate Security Chief on January 6th, dies before the hearing. From Joshua Rhett Miller, the former Senate Surgeon-at-Arms who oversaw security during last year's Capitol Selfie Fest has died, one day before Tuesday's hearing to present new evidence. Michael Stenger, who resigned a day after pro-Trump rioters easily took selfies in the Capitol on January 6, 2021, died on Monday morning, Politico reported. The Marine Corps veteran, 71, spent 35 years at the Secret Service before joining the Senate Surgeon-at-Arms team in 2011. He was later appointed to the post in 2018. Former colleagues were notified of his death on Monday afternoon, Politico reported. A woman who answered the phone early Tuesday at Stenger's home in Falls Church, Virginia, declined to comment when reached by the Post. "The family's not here. It's nobody's business," she said. "It has nothing to do with January 6th at all." Falls Church, that was that place in Virginia on the Fallout 3 map that we avoided going to, instead going to Point Lookout. Stenger stepped down after the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell requested his resignation amid widespread criticism in the deadly attempted Selfie Fest. House Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving and Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund also resigned. The ultimate blame for yesterday's lies with the unhinged criminals who broke down doors, trampled our nation's flag with law enforcement, and tried to disrupt our democracy, and with those who incited them, McConnell said at the time. But this fact does not and will not preclude our addressing the shocking failures in the Capitol's security posture and protocols. A Senate Rules Committee cited Sund and Stenger's inaction on the Capitol violence, finding that Sund never submitted a formal request to Capitol Police for National Guard support ahead of January 6th. Instead, Sun had informal conversations with Stenger on the possible need for National Guard troops. Stenger's death came one day before Tuesday's abruptly added January 6 panel, during which an aide of former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will testify to present recently obtained evidence and receive witness testimony. Now, NBC is saying that this death is not considered suspicious. But I do have questions. Again, it's not like he just suddenly passed out and passed away at 35 years old. He was 72 years old. Stenger, the former chief sergeant-at-arms who oversaw the Senate security during the selfie fest, was found dead Monday morning, two sources familiar with the matter said. Stenger's cause of death is not yet known. U.S. Capitol Police declined to comment. The medical examiner in Virginia did not handle his death. Interesting, a spokesman said, indicating it was not considered suspicious. Fox News did report that Stenger had cancer. Dude, I don't know. I have questions about this one. But Stenger's passed away. F's in the chat for Stenger. Because even if we do have political enemies out there, we still wish them well into the next life and hope that they overcome their sins and find Jesus, so they don't have to spend the rest of eternity in the fiery lake. Here's an interesting one from The Hill. Fury, McCarthy dealt with January 6th Select Committee correctly. This is an op-ed. The opinions expressed within this article do not reflect the opinions of The Hill, Contemporary, Turns of Pages Productions, or the host. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy played the January 6th committee exactly right. Here are 6 reasons why. Number 1, nobody cares about the January 6th committee. Sure, inside the Beltway media cares, the liberal elite cares, and the Democrats care to a certain extent. This is especially the case following the Dobbs decision. Polls show that interest is low in the committee and its findings. The ratings have been horrific. As 2 Democratic members of Congress told Jonathan Swan of Axios, nobody cares about January 6th when they talk about their districts and how the elections play out. 2 Republicans score points when they talk about what voters care about. Polls show that inflation, the economy's crime, and the southern border are the top concerns for most voters. Keeping his colleagues focused on the big issues is good for McCarthy. 3, 0% of Republicans are defending Donald Trump. What happened on January 6th was not a congressional Republican thing. They didn't call for it, they didn't want it, they didn't like it. If real Republicans had been put on the committee, they would have been put into the unenviable position of having to defend the president and his conduct in the days following the election. Trump might feel a bit uncomfortable with the fact that Republicans on the dais aren't rushing to defend him. Good. He should feel uncomfortable. He acted stupidly, although not criminally. 4, the hearings haven't changed the story. Everyone knows the basic narrative. Trump thought he won the election. He was angry when he was declared the loser. He did everything he could to get former Vice President Pence to throw the election to the House, where he thought he could eventually win. And he had a big rally on the National Mall where a bunch of people were let into the Capitol and took selfies. They didn't ransack the place. And I say this as well, given the fact that if they had ransacked the place, we would see a lot more damage to priceless paintings, marble walls, and the area outside the velvet rope. Sure, there are ample conspiracy theories that are titillating but probably won't be pursued. But so far, the committee's only followed the already established storyline. That is not all that interesting. Liz Cheney has disqualified herself from the Republican leadership. Letting Cheney become the lead Republican inquisitor by removing all Republicans McCarthy selected means that she will no longer be a competitor to McCarthy for the Speaker's office. It's unlikely that she'll even be reelected. Before she went on this electoral kamikaze, Cheney was seen as a rising star and a likely candidate for Speaker. God, thank the January 6th committee for preventing that. Thank God for that. Otherwise, we would have our boots so far up the rear end of the Middle East again that there might never be children in that region of the world ever again. And lastly, Pelosi's president could come in handy someday. Democrats, especially Senate Democrats, are exceptionally good at establishing procedural precedent that is later exploited by Republicans to achieve their goals. Harry Reid, judicial filibuster. Oh, look, and he said that right there. Oh, and he said Harry Reid, too. I didn't even read ahead of that, and I saw that. We wouldn't have so many conservative judges if then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid hadn't pursued the nuclear strategy on non-Supreme Court judicial filibuster in 2013. It's not clear when and if McCarthy will use that strategy deployed by Pelosi to stack both sides of a select committee to achieve a desired result for the first time in their 232 years of House history. As of right now, it serves him well to decry the stunning breach of congressional decorum, but revenge is best served cold, and who knows? Once a precedent is set, the precedent is set. So, that's kind of an interesting way to do this. But as the Unselect Committee comes through, I have a headline that will give you nightmares. The whispers of Hillary Clinton 2024 have started. There you go, guys. Let that keep you up at night. In the immediate aftermath of the Supreme Court's monumental decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, a conservative writer, John Ellis, took to the internet to make a provocative case that it was time for Hillary Clinton to make another political comeback. Now is her moment, he wrote. The Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade creates the opening for Hillary Clinton to get out of stealth mode and start down the path toward declaring her candidacy for the 2024 presidential nomination. Ellis's argument is centered on the ideas that, 1, President Brandon will be 82 shortly after the 2024 election, is simply too old to run. Ellis is far from the only person making that case, and 2, the Democrat bench is not terribly strong. Oh no. Writing in the Hill newspaper, Democratic pundit Juan Williams makes the case that Clinton should become a major figure on the campaign trail this year. Clinton is the exact right person to put steel in the Democrat spine and bring attention to the reality that ultra-MAGA Republicans, as President Biden calls them, no, as they call themselves, you moron, are tearing apart the nation, Williams adds. Keep talking and talk louder, Hillary. So just how far-fetched is a Clinton candidacy? The problem is that it's not. And she's going to do this, and she's going to fail again. They don't want her. But if she does decide to throw her hat in the ring, I'm going to tell you right now, buy some, and this is not official financial advice, but think about buying some stock in Orville Redenbacher, because and I'm guessing a lot of you, are going to be buying a lot of popcorn suddenly. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? I'll take my watch off for just a second. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, this stupid story. Mariana Wright tweets out, "In the name of hashtag public safety, I removed the weapon from the abandoned, unlocked vehicle on the side of the road and secured it in at National Butterflies, where Texas National Guard was able to reclaim it. The idiots didn't even realize it was missing when they returned to the truck. Hashtag OLS." So here we see, if this story, by the way, is accurate as it's presented, and I don't necessarily believe it as presented, just so you know. But if this is as presented, because we can't quite see the end here, that means that this woman broke in to a federal government vehicle and stole and possessed, by theft, a short-barreled select-fire rifle. Think about that for a second. She didn't stop there either. Mariana Wright Today I got my hands on a fully automatic weapon thanks to the stupid, irresponsible Texas National Guard, Operation Lone Star, who left their vehicle running and unlocked with guns inside on the side of the road. Guess the truck could have been mine too. Hashtag public safety, hashtag Texas style. And even further, no, the Texas Guard charged with enforcing the law won't even wear their seatbelts. Rather, the driver had it fastened behind him, so he didn't have to be annoyed by the ding 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 of the pesky alarm to hashtag buckle up. Also, he left his gun in an unlocked truck. OLS. Reading from military.com. Civilian finds rifle left in unlocked vehicle by guardsman on border mission. From Steve Bainan. A National Guardsman on the southern border mission left a loaded M4 in an unlocked vehicle on Thursday, which was quickly found by a civilian. So again, you have broken into a government vehicle, illegally entered a government vehicle, and stolen government property, which happens to be a select fire short-barreled rifle. And then you went onto Twitter and bragged about it. You bragged about committing several felonies on Twitter. You need to delete these posts, Marianne, and get a lawyer. I think it's irresponsible, reckless, and a danger to public safety, and that's the way the National Guard is doing things. Mariana Trevino Wright, who found the weapon, told military.com, if they cannot secure their weapons, how are they supposed to secure the border? Trevino Wright is the executive director of the National Butterfly Center, a 100-acre natural preserve on the U.S.-Mexico border. She said there were 5 vehicles in front of the preserve, some belonging to the National Guard and others being Border Patrol vehicles. One vehicle had soldiers in it, which drove away. When she approached, Trevino Wright saw a pickup used by a guardsman, still running, and noticed a loaded M4 with a closed combat optic, or CCO, attached in the driver's seat. It also had at least one assault pack and multiple flotation devices in the bed. Fearing the weapon could be taken by someone with bad intentions, she confiscated it and immediately called Border Patrol authorities. Roughly 45 minutes later, Border Patrol personnel and National Guardsmen came back to retrieve the rifle. The Texas National Guard did not respond to military.com's request for comment or answer the weapons on whether the soldier faces any punitive action. Why isn't the woman facing punitive action? No, I'm dead serious. Why isn't the woman facing punitive action? That is a crime. And by the way, let's go back and look at the full picture here. This is also in full fireable condition, on top of everything, and select fire. She didn't even bother to take the magazine out. Fearing the weapon could be taken by someone with bad intentions, she confiscated it. We saw that. Let's say the Guard or Border Patrol were trying to apprehend someone who got past them and got to the vehicle with the weapon, Trevino Wright said. Anyone could have grabbed it. Multiple people went by on bicycles and were jogging. Oh, so, Miss Wright, are you saying that joggers shouldn't... Are you saying that joggers are going to have bad intention? Trevino Wright said she constantly battled with National Guard over trespassing on her property and causing incidents. In January, soldiers crashed a truck into one of the nature preserve's gates. Dude, if I breathed on one of these weapons, you wouldn't be seeing Contemporary for at least 15 years. Why can she break into a government vehicle and steal government property and get away with it? Speaking of firearms, from KBVI, California leaks personal information of legal gun owners. From Tom Joyce, who is a contributor to the Center Square. A new dashboard from the California AG's office has leaked the personal information of thousands of the state's gun owners. The California Department of Justice launched its 2022 Firearms Dashboard portal on Monday. The portal featured data on the state's gun purchases as well as concealed carry license holders. Users quickly learned that the publicly accessible files, including identifying information of concealed carry permit owners, could be downloaded from the graphics. As the Reload reports, as of Tuesday afternoon, the dashboard appears to have been pulled from the website. The leaked info includes people's full names, home addresses, dates of birth, permit issue dates, as confirmed by a lawyer for the California Rifle and Pistol Association that obtained a copy of the data. Some personal information of concealed carry license holders is available through public records request. Additionally, the data reveal the type of permit one holds, whether the person holding the permit is a judge or a member of law enforcement, the report found. In LA County alone, 2,891 people with standard licenses had their information compromised by the leak, the Reload stated. Initially, this information was available to download on the website by downloading the background information behind the graphics, but it's been updated by Tuesday so that any personal information was no longer public. As of the afternoon, the state's database site appeared entirely inactive. California Rifle and Pistol Association President Chuck Michaels said he was not happy with the leak and said the lawsuit might be coming. Oh, well, if you've got gangbangers in Compton who need to get new armaments and new ammunition, you've just created a shopping list for them. Not to mention, the Karens in California now have people that they can protest and harass and say, I saw that you had an evil gun permit in California. Won't you think of the children? This is just like when they leaked and released, although the Trump donor information is publicly available anyway, but when they compiled it and put it into a specific place so that you could easily go back and harass your neighbor over whether or not he gave $5 to the Donald. The news story that got not as much attention as it deserved. Maybe this was why we had the sudden surprise hearing this morning. Ghislaine Maxwell sentenced to 20 years for helping Epstein. From the Associated Press. Ghislaine Maxwell, the jet-setting socialite who once consorted with the royals, presidents, and billionaires, was sentenced on Tuesday to 20 years for helping the financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, and given the fact that Spacey was on the island, probably boys. The stiff sentence was a victory for the group of women who spent years fighting for justice after an earlier generation of persecutors failed to pursue the predatory power couple. Epstein, who didn't kill himself in 2019 while awaiting trial, sexually abused children hundreds of times over more than a decade, exploiting vulnerable girls as young as 14. Prosecutors say that he couldn't have done it without the help of Maxwell, his longtime companion. Maxwell, wearing a blue prison uniform and a white mask to conform with coronavirus rules, looked to one side as the sentence was announced, but otherwise did not react. She wore leg shackles that could be heard rattling when she walked into the courtroom. The sentence was shorter than the term sought by prosecutors, but Epstein's accusers still expressed relief. It's been an incredibly long road to justice for myself and many others, said Sarah Ransom, one of Epstein's accusers. This is for the girls that didn't have their say, the ones that weren't here. Okay, well, let's get the list. And also, how long before she kills herself? And I've even heard people go as far as to say kills herself with a body double and winds up somewhere in the Middle East. Let's talk about Amazon. From Libs of TikTok, scoop. Hundreds of Amazon employees signed an open letter to Amazon leadership demanding that they cease doing business in states where abortion is illegal and requesting time off to grieve the Supreme Court ruling. Let's see. Edited a ruse post-linked and more inclusive language. To Amazon leadership. We, the undersigned, have come to... Can we blow this up? That actually might have made it worse. We, the undersigned, come to you today to request immediate and decisive action against the threat to our basic human rights with the overturning of Roe v. Wade as part of Amazon's wide-reaching efforts towards a more inclusive and diverse workforce. We believe that Amazon cannot let the recent decision go unanswered. We ask Amazon, the world's best employer, to actively defend against this assault on our liberty. Leftoids cheering for a billionaire socialite that owns a billion-dollar company. Below are proposed ideas on how Amazon might use its considerable influence and responsibility to help our country correct its course and mitigate the impact of the recent Supreme Court decision on Amazon employees. Although some ideas bear larger business risks than others, these unprecedented times which require us to think big to change the world. 1. Use Amazon's voice to publicly and unequivocally denounce the decision. 2. Allow employees of all genders the space and time to grieve, express their frustrations, and protest against this assault on our rights. 3. Organize company-sponsored protests in support of Amazon employees. 4. Donate and match donations to bail funds and assistance groups working to expand abortion access for women and pregnant people in impacted states with 5 links. 5. Expand remote work options to allow employees option to relocate to states that choose to preserve their basic human rights. 6. Audit and remove product offerings that misrepresent facts on abortion or encourage hate speech or violence towards abortion seekers, which is in the same vein as, removing Johnny the Walrus because Matt Walsh is evil. 7. Audit all political donations and immediately cease contributions to political committees that oppose abortion, including but not limited to the RGA, RSLC, and NRSC, as well as all of the donations that fund anti-abortion campaigns. 8. Enact company-wide policy change going forward to ensure that Amazon does not aid or abet anti-abortion causes, ideologies, groups, or public figures, including by a donation, product sale, public statement, or otherwise. 9. Cease operations in states that enact laws that threaten the laws and liberty of abortion seekers, either by denying health care in life-threatening circumstances or by criminalizing abortion seekers and providers. Given the attacks on our democracy and the continued deterioration of our rights, we believe the time to act is now. If you would like to learn more about advocating for abortion, including organizations you can personally support or talking points to help focus the conversations on the safety of abortion seekers, check out this quip and another link. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, cease operations in pro-life states. Amazon's not going to go for it. They just dumped a bunch of money over the past 10 years into Wisconsin, Florida. Those are the 2 big ones that I know of right offhand. Texas. Bezos himself is doing mini operations in Texas. Those are just the 3 I can think of right off the top. They have 2 warehouses in Wisconsin that has a trigger law. So I don't see this going anywhere. Let's read one from the Daily Wire. Amazon employees of all genders beg management to stop doing business in pro-life states and make other extreme demands. Amazon employees of all genders are requesting time off to mourn the end of Roe v. Wade and demanding the company cease operations in pro-life states. The e-commerce giant said last month that it would cover as much as $4,000 in expenses for employees traveling across state lines to procure an abortion after the Supreme Court overturned Roe, the 73 decision claiming the Constitution protects abortion. Several other leading corporations followed suit. Back to the line, wage slave. Here's $4,000 to go get it scraped out of you, and then back to the line, wage slave. I don't understand why people don't see that, by the way. Nevertheless, Libs of TikTok obtained an open letter from hundreds of Amazon employees demanding more action over the loss of their basic human rights, which we just read. Among other actions, the authors are requesting Amazon allow employees of all genders the space and time to grieve, express their frustration, and protest against their assault on our rights. In addition, they want the company to donate and match donations to bail funds to help women and pregnant people seeking abortions in states with protections for preborn babies. Amazon would not be the first company to pursue such policy. Clothing maker Patagonia told employees last week it would help pay bail for those who peacefully protest in response to the Supreme Court's decision. You know, maybe Tim's right. This does sound a lot like Civil War. And where it started, where it was just the government not enforcing laws against or towards a certain group of people. We'll skip that one. We'll skip that one because it's all the review of what we just read here. Got one from our friends over at NPR, and make sure you hit that donate button because NPR needs our money to tell you how it's right for you to cut that baby back out of you and then go back to your wage slave job. So remember, use your wage slave job because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. And go tell everybody what you think about the ability to murder your own offspring. Let's see what they have to say. Global reproductive and women's rights groups react to overturn of Roe v. Wade from Malaka Gharib. And remember, what the rest of the world thinks of us is the most important thing. That's why we always heard during the Trump years that we were the laughingstock, because we have to care what the rest of the world thinks of us. So hit that donate button. Never Printing Reality, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. How will the overturn of Roe v. Wade affect abortion rights and access outside the U.S.? Groups that are opposed to abortion have welcomed the decision, including the Family Resource Council, which has called it a major victory for life, but many global reproductive and women's rights groups are condemning the decision and warn that the U.S. overturning the constitutional right to abortion will have a far-reaching effect around the globe. Here is a sampling of the reactions. Hit that donate button, guys. More unsafe abortions will occur around the world. Yeah, okay. One of the leading causes of preventable maternal death. FIGO, the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, released a statement that, like the UNFPA comment, underscores the toll of unsafe abortions. Lack of access to safe abortions care is the leading causes of preventable maternal death and disability. Each year, 47,000 women in the world die as a result of unsafe abortion, and an estimated 5 million are hospitalized for the treatment of serious complications such as bleeding or infection. This vote may embolden the anti-choice movement. As a global abortion provider, we know the impact of this decision will also be felt around the world, from the global gag rule to U.S.-funded anti-choice groups who harass women outside of clinics and lobby governments to restrict access. Decisions made by the U.S. have an impact far beyond our borders. Yeah, from the sounds of it, this says, oh, well, because the U.S. did it, now everybody else is going to come back and do it. Here's a statement from the Vice President about what she thinks of your sons. VP Harris, if you're a parent of sons, do you think about what this means for your life, for the life of your son, and what that will mean in terms of choices that he will have? Well, I'm curious.
And when we think about it, everyone has something at risk on this. First of all, if you are a parent of sons, do think about what this means for the life of your son and what that will mean in terms of the choices he will have. And when we think about it, everyone...
Yeah, my God, he might have to go put a ring on it. Or not plow the skank. That was easy. Some good news for you. White House shuts down Elizabeth Warren's push for abortion clinics at national parks. From Dylan Burrows. The White House has spoken out against a suggestion by Senator Elizabeth Warren to develop abortion services at national parks. This was interesting. Let's see what they have to say about it, and then if we've got to fill in some of the blanks, we'll go from there. Is there a video of this, by the way? Yes, there is. Oh, no. That's in the same idea. So, actually, before we do this, we might let's listen to the AOC video first. And then if I got to fill in some of the blanks, we'll fill in that.
I'll start with the babiest of the baby steps. Open abortion clinics on federal lands in red states right now.
So the idea is that there's federal sovereignty in a national park on federal lands. So, like, in Yellowstone, and I believe that is Wyoming. I haven't been to that one. Let's see how bad I am at geography. Yes, mostly in Wyoming. So in Wyoming, which is a red state, which is probably going to have a near total ban, the idea is for them to go back and open a clinic in Yellowstone because apparently the federal government has supremacy because it's a national park, a national land, which that in and of itself right there should be enough reason for you to consider the ending of federal parks, of national parks. Sell it to the states if you have to. But that right there should be your big push to end national parks. Because that will get access for women to be able to murder their babies. Against the wishes of the evil red states. All right, the White House has spoken out against this. White House Press Secretary, token diversity hire, addressed the issue during a Tuesday press gaggle aboard Air Force One. I think we talked about this the other day about, building some kind of facilities on federal land. Are you any further along? Oh, that was what she was asked by the reporter. Are you any further along in terms of exploring these options, and would it be a possibility to come to some agreement with tribes to use tribal lands? John Pierre was asked by a reporter. The press secretary noted, "We understand the proposal is well-intentioned, but here's the thing. It would actually put women and providers at risk." Jean Pierre added that the move could lead to potential prosecution. And importantly, in states where abortion is now illegal, women and providers who are not federal employees, as you look into the federal lands, could be potentially prosecuted, she added, claiming that there are actually dangerous ramifications to doing this. When pressed for additional details on the issue, Jean Pierre only noted, we're looking at an array of options. Speculation about abortion services on national park property spread after Warren mentioned the idea during Washington Post, Where Democracy Goes to Die in Taylor Loren's interview. "We could put up tents!" Oh no. You who fake claim to be Native American. No, you didn't go down that road. No. Would that be the same as putting up a teepee, Mrs. Warren? I have trained personnel and be there to help people who need it. The Post, Carolyn Kitchener reported Warren telling her regarding abortions in national parks. "It's time to declare a medical emergency." The full article by the Post quoted Warren supporting Planned Parenthood outposts on the edge of national parks. The point is the acknowledgement of the emergency situation and urgency of getting help out, she said in an interview. People need help immediately. Oh no. Oh man. The jokes write themselves. No, this is a bad idea. Number one, this is all the information that you need to end national parks. State parks, I'm okay with. It's between you and the state that you live in. But federal national parks, where they think that they can do whatever they want on state supreme land, no, it's time for that to be over. We'll do it intense. We'll have the doula come out. Oh, I can't go down this or I will get shut down on YouTube. George Washington University rejects calls to remove Clarence Thomas from a teaching role. From Olafimihan Oshin. George Washington University has rejected its student body's calls to remove Supreme Court Justice Thomas from its adjunct professor role in the aftermath of overturning Roe v. Wade. In a letter sent on Tuesday, GWU officials said they will not remove Thomas from his current position with the school because he has not violated the school's policy on academic freedom, saying Thomas is free to express his own opinion even though his views do not reflect the school. Arvolt coming in with the dad jokes. Because we steadfastly support the robust exchange of ideas and deliberation, and because the debate is an essential part of the university's academic and educational missions to train future leaders who are prepared to address the world's most urgent problems, the university will neither terminate Justice Thomas's employment nor cancel his classes in response to his legal opinions, GWU said in a letter to his students. Just as we affirm our commitment to academic freedom, we affirm the right to all members of our community to voice their opinions and contribute to the critical discussion that are foundational to our academic mission. So, good on them. I think that's a good idea. All right, we've got one last one on the sacrifice to Moloch, and this is another good news here. From the Associated Press, court lets Tennessee's 6-week ban take effect. From Jonathan Matisse. I think you're going to start to see a smattering between 6 and 24 weeks across the country, unless you're in New York, Massachusetts, California, probably Rhode Island, Illinois. What's another real big progressive stronghold? I don't know. I can't think of one right now. DC probably. That'd be another one. Unless you're in those states where it'll be up until the moment of crowning and probably for several hours afterwards. A federal court on Tuesday allowed Tennessee's ban on abortion as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy to take effect, citing the Supreme Court's decision last week overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade abortion rights case. The action by the Sixth Circuit comes before Tennessee's other abortion ban, the so-called trigger ban, is expected to restrict abortion almost entirely by mid-August, according to a newly detailed legal interpretation by the state attorney general. Both measures make the performing of an abortion a felony and subject doctors to up to 15 years in prison if convicted. Nothing to the seeker, which I think is good. I actually do think not going after the seeker is a good thing. Unironically, I know that my more Christian friends would think that this is outright, straight up murder and all of them need to be in prison for life as well. And I only make that case when I use that as the bargaining chip against, oh, well, what about rape and incest? Okay, well, I will allow for abortion to rape and incest. I will allow you to hear that out if you agree that anything for convenience is life imprisonment and a murder one charge for both the provider and the seeker. Then we'll talk about the 1% of cases out there. But realistically, when we're not doing a bargaining chip, I do believe that, yeah, this should only go to the provider, not the seeker. AG Herbert Slattery filed an emergency motion on Friday to let the state begin implementing the 6-week ban. GOP supermajorities in the legislature passed the law in 2020 with Republican Governor Bill Lee's backing, and was quickly blocked in federal court. Specifically, the ban halts abortion once cardiac activity is detected, which is around 6 weeks in pregnancy, when most women don't even know they're pregnant. 6 weeks pregnancy. Did I do that guy without a condom? Have I been feeling weird and emotional, and have my breasts been tender for the past 6 weeks? Am I getting hungry all of a sudden, constantly? I feel like AOC said, most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks, okay, puppy? I feel like you got some idea. You might not have the test, the confirmation, but I feel like you know something's going on, at least. Something's different here. Let's talk about some COVID news. The propaganda. The smell of propaganda in the morning. Elmo got COVID vaccine today. Just like Elmo's mommy and daddy. Elmo's daddy had a lot of questions, but Elmo's doctor said the vaccine would keep Elmo healthy. And all of Elmo's friends and family, too. To which Sesame Street is the quote tweet. It's okay to have questions about COVID vaccines for children. Elmo's dad, Louie, talked to the pediatrician and learned that Elmo getting vaccinated is the best way for him and his whole neighborhood safe, to keep him and his whole neighborhood safe and healthy. # caring for each other. Well, given the fact that Elmo is 63 years old, I don't think the pediatrician has anything to do with this.
Now Daddy has super duper bandages just like Elmo.
You were super duper today, getting your COVID vaccine, Elmo.
Yeah, there was a little pinch, but it was okay. Elmo was really glad to have Daddy and Baby David there with him. Baby David, where are you?
I had a lot of questions about Elmo getting the COVID vaccine. Was it safe? Was it the right decision? I talked to our pediatrician so I could make the right choice. I learned that Elmo getting vaccinated is the best way to keep himself, our friends, neighbors, and everyone else healthy and enjoying the things they love.
Oh, Daddy, Elmo and Baby David have a question. Can we have a hug?
Oh, come here, son.
Elmo loves you, Daddy.
I love you too.
It's okay to have questions about COVID vaccines for your kids. Get the latest facts by speaking to your pediatrician.
Wait. Since when is it okay to have questions about this? I thought that we were supposed to kneel down and accept this without question, lest we be banned from YouTube or Twitter. And the worst part of this, when I look at this, Freckle Liberty says it's propaganda for children, and she's absolutely correct on that. But the worst part, when I look at something like this, something stupid like this, is the fact that even the most innocent, fanciful child in the world understands one thing. Elmo is a puppet! Elmo can be sprayed with a concentrated spray containing the pinko pox. And we'll continue doing Sesame Street for another 60 years. Until the marionette falls apart, and I'm sure that there are 7 more of them out there. From CNN, Elmo's now vaccinated for the pinko. I'm not even going to go down this one. CNN spent time and money and paid Rachel Fadum to write this propagandistic article. They pulled a journalist, so-called, off of an assignment to write this. We got to bring this one back up here. Pinko pox vaccinations begin for U.S. children under 5, which is why Elmo is getting one. From Jacqueline Howard. Dr. Sarah Schaefer DeRue described in one word how she felt after getting her 7-month-old son vaccinated against COVID-19. Propagandized too. No, she's thrilled. Her active baby boy sat in her lap at the vaccine clinic hosted by the Children's National Hospital in D.C. While receiving his first dose of the vaccine, the shot was administered in his thigh. He cried for a few seconds, but his attention turned towards a golden retriever that was on site as a comfort dog provided by the hospital. What the hell is wrong with this world? How did we get to this point? I'm feeling really thrilled that we have this opportunity, DeRue, a pediatrician at Children's National Hospital in D.C., told CNN's Suzanne Malveaux on Tuesday about her son's vaccination. DeRue added that her family will now feel more comfortable participating in certain activities, knowing that their youngest son has started his vaccine series, that he will get every 6 months for the rest of his life. It will certainly allow us to have more freedom with our personal lives and what we do, DeRue said, and for the baby, we'll feel like we've cloaked him in as much protection as we can, in spite of the fact that it does not seem to be all that effective. I'm sorry, YouTube. It's completely effective. The most effective thing that's ever been in history. Last week, the FDA expanded the emergency use authorizations. Not approval, but EUA for Moderna's vaccine to include children 6 months through 17 years and Pfizer's for 6 months through 4 years. Then on Saturday, the CDC, Rochelle Walensky, signed off on a vaccination for children under 5, clearing the way for vaccinations to be administered at that age group. But on the other side of it, we'll talk about the administrators, because Publix has come out and said that they will not be giving the vaccine to any children under 5, which, as a private company, is their right to do so. Again, if they don't believe in this, they'll still make the opportunity for adults to make their informed, consented decisions, but not bring this down into the children. From Paul Best. Health officials approved the COVID vaccines for children as young as 6 months last week, but Florida-based Publix will not be offering the Moderna or Pfizer shots to children younger than 5. A spokesperson for the supermarket, which is headquartered in Lakeland and has nearly 1,300 locations across the Southeast, confirmed the news to Fox 13 Tampa Bay on Wednesday. About 2/3 of Publix stores are in Florida, which was the only state not to pre-order vaccines from the federal government in anticipation of them being approved for toddlers. Now, and I don't have kids. That's one thing to point out with this. It is, for me, I look at some of what I have to say with this and say that, yes, as an adult with informed consent, to go down to your local grocery store that's got the, we'll use the flu shot as an indicator for this. To go down and get the flu shot with your own adult consent at the Walgreens, at the grocery store, at the college, that's another one to go out there and get it at. If your health administrator has an office to do that at the college, that's one thing. But for any vaccination, MMR, polio, flu shot, the pinko pox vaccine, even if I was for getting this particular vaccine, which I am not, I think that you make your own decision but I don't think it should be compulsory to anybody. For the child, especially of that young, I feel like I might be wrong on this, but I feel as though it's contingent to go have the pediatrician do that for somebody that young. Like, have somebody who's specifically trained in medicine for the youngest and most vulnerable of us. If you're the parent, do you think that's the best thing for your kids? I'm not going to tell you how to parent your kids. I'll express my concerns, but ultimately I'm not going to tell you how to parent your kids. That's the ultimate end, the end all and the be all to it. I'm not going to tell you how to parent your kids. But I really feel like this should be something that a pediatrician should be doing. Not a minimum wage temp at the Publix. Some more health news. We actually do have to go figure out what it is that we're finishing out with today. But since we're going down the health side of this one I really want to get to, but we are out of time. We are out of time. Polio virus is identified in London sewage, says UK Health Agency. Isn't it weird that we keep having all these ancient diseases coming back all of a sudden? Polio, from Zahid Mahmood. UK health officials are urging people who may not be up to date with their polio shots to get vaccinated after polio virus was found during a routine surveillance of London sewage samples. Investigations are underway after several closely related viruses were found in sewage samples from Beckton sewage treatment works taken between February and May, said the UK Health Security Agency in a statement on Wednesday. It is normal for 1 to 3 vaccine-like polio viruses to be detected each year in UK sewage samples, but these have been one-off findings that were not detected again, UK HSA said. These previous detections occurred when an individual vaccinated overseas with live oral polio vaccine returned or traveled to the UK and briefly shed traces of the vaccine-like polio virus in their feces, it added. The recent samples raised alarm as the virus continued to evolve and is now classified as a vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2, which on rare occasions can cause serious illness such as paralysis in people who are not fully vaccinated, the UK HSA said. So what have we seen now coming back? Polio, the plague, measles. These things that they keep telling us, by the way, that we've eliminated. Monkeypox. But that's just from people banging each other in the ass. Oops. Well, there goes my AM radio cred right there. So, there's something to pay attention to there. I do want to do this one, because then we can close out the health side of things. If you are getting DTC meal kits, there has been a food poisoning scandal sweeping the DTC meal kit influencer space, and I simply cannot look away. My wife went to the hospital for 2 days with liver damage because of DH. My wife ordered Daily Harvest and lentil crumbles on May 11th and ate them during the week of the 16th. I didn't have any since, ironically, it was her health thing. On Saturday, May 21st, nearly a month ago, she developed symptoms consistent with severe liver problems, extreme fatigue, dark urine, low-grade fever, and whole body itching with no rash. Coincidentally, she had her annual checkup the day before and seemed perfectly healthy. Also, another one from my mother got food poisoning from lentil crumbles. It's come to my attention that some people have experienced gastrointestinal issues from the Daily Harvest crumbles. This is for Daily Harvest. Do not eat or buy the lentil crumbles. So this does appear to be specific to lentils for Daily Harvest, which I've actually never heard of. I know that I have teased the idea of going and getting some of these. What was the one that I was going to do? The one that sponsored Shapiro for a while, but getting some of these meal delivery kits, these meal prep kits, just because. I mean, it's just me. Most recipes you see have meals for either a week and a half or are designed to feed a family of 4. It's just me that's doing the eating here. And I've considered doing that just because they're portioned out correctly. They've got a correct number of calories and stuff like that. And it's good for that kind of stuff. But now I'm looking at this and having second thoughts. So, something to watch for if you use your meal delivery kits. Don't panic. Don't dump your subscription entirely, but it's something to go ask questions about, definitely. All right, and the last one that I'm going to do today, and we'll cover the rest of it tomorrow, which looks like we've got most everything done, is this one. Looks like I can't see the emote there, but there's a K and then a spade. It says, what would you do if your kid brought this home? Lunch detention. 1 day. No mark as whether it's served or not served. Name, Hank Beanie. Grade, 6th. Reason, student was covering his ears while CNN 10 was on. He was asked to stop and listen to the video. He replied, I don't want to listen to Democrats, and then continued to cover his ears. Person assigning, Tessa House. Date, 1/14/22. Time, 12:27. Comments, mom notified 1/18/22, 9:15 a.m. And then for security use only, report to blank on blank. Well, I guess my first question would be is, why are my kids watching CNN in school? They're there for you to teach them, not for you to feed recycled propaganda to them, which unfortunately is the vast majority of the visual aid material that we saw when I was in school as well, was recycled propaganda. I don't know. I don't know that I would have a big problem with this. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you do if your kid brought this home? I know this isn't Helton's kid, because if it was Helton's kid, this little line here would say demon rats. All right, that's all that I have for the day, and it is Wednesday. So we finish out with something I'm thankful for, as I always do. Probably be doing a little bit of foreshadowing off this one, because I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 days. I know what I'm going to attempt to do, but, you know, anything can happen over here. Now, I will admit to you guys that I get a major amount of anxiety every time I'm about to go spend a whole bunch of money. Who knew that 3 tanks of fuel would become a major purchase at some point, by the way? How did we get here? I went... let's do story time here for a second. In 2020, most of you know this because you saw me do contemporary from my phone, because the Wi-Fi connection where we were staying was not powerful enough to send off a live stream. I went from here to Kenosha, because I went and before I left for DC, I had to go and get my state-imposed theft filed. So I went from here to Kenosha to where my accountant lives, which is an hour away. Or that's not where she lives, it's where she works. So from here to Kenosha. And then from Kenosha to Washington, D.C., on the border of Maryland. I'm not going to say where, obviously, but on the border of Maryland. On one day, and then the next day, went from Washington, D.C. on the border of Maryland to Orlando, Florida. Then got back in my truck, drove around in Orlando for a couple days. What was it, like 6 days? John, are you out there? drove back to Washington, D.C., stayed the night, and then drove back to Redacted, where I live now, for less than what it cost to fill up my truck 2 weeks ago. That whole trip, the fuel for that entire trip, cost less than what it cost to fill my truck up once. Actually, I think it's a little bit less now, because gas did finally come down in relief. But when we were up in the 479, 480 range around here, it cost $160 to fill the truck all the way up. That whole trip cost me $150 in fuel. That entire trip cost me $150. But the thing that I'm really thinking about, and this is me not coming out and saying that they're planning something. I mean, hey, Mira might show up. Because I've been hearing a concerted effort from Britt, Jessica Green, KTZed, John, Stephen, that I have to figure out a way to get down to Georgia this coming weekend. That I don't get a choice in the matter. And that feeling of belonging, and it's just like I said when I came back from Georgia last time, the feeling of belonging is something that I've not had in a very long time. Like an insanely long time. I didn't even quite have that when I lived in Kenosha. And I did have some very good friends, but there were times where I felt it was just more of a convenience thing. Like I was there and I could do work that the people couldn't potentially do. So it was more of having me there because I could do things for them more than just having a belonging. So I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm really thankful for the fact that I get this opportunity once again. You know, the way the time off at work has changed, the fact that people can jump in and do contemporary. And we don't have to miss a day, because that's one thing for me, is I never want to miss a day off of this. I love that you guys, no matter if it's a holiday or not, can get up every weekday morning and say, hey, I can see what the news was. And there are enough good people in my corner right now that can come up and make that happen for me as well. I'm thankful for that as well. But it is 9:45, which means I need to get myself out of here, which means we gotta go. Where's the outro music? That's actually a good question. Where's my outro music? There it is. If you're on Twitch, throw those globes up. I want to see your globes. Throw those emotes up. I want to see them. I want to see how they work for you guys. But with that, we're going to head out of here for the day. So thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Everybody who came and hung out with us. Everybody who came and hung out on the Instagram side as well. Looks like we had a little bit of activity over there briefly throughout the rest of us. We'll be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, more news, and more headlines. And by the way, if you are lurking, because I saw quite a bit of people coming out here today, I do give a special thank you to everybody who had at least one chat message in, because that's the only way I can track and see that you were there. It all gets written down on this sheet of paper here, so make sure you get at least one message in, no matter which platform you're on. And on Friday, we do sit down and read some of the live chat, read some of the stuff that you guys say as well. So come back and join us here tomorrow, bright and early, for more contemporary. I promise it won't be 20 to 8 tomorrow, because you know, we're not going to be dealing with a massive January 6th fallout again, but definitely come back and join us here tomorrow for more contemporary. Stick around if you're on Twitch. We're going to go raid somebody, probably Goldilocks, because it's Wednesday morning, and we will see you here tomorrow for more contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.